I do
Yeah.
think there are a lot of operators in this industry that are doing a really good job and are trying to make the industry a better place. That being said, there are plenty of operators that aren't, and I think it's important that players don't give their business to those other operators.
So, which operators would you like to throw under the bus? Yeah, I mean, you could say that poker is predatory on
Oh, definitely.
the
It
pros
is.
side in
100%.
comparison to chess, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
the chess has this massive edge, but there's no money in it. So, is it really predatory? We're like just it seems like a strong word in this case, right? Like I'm comparing chess to poker. Like there's no money in chess, now there's money in poker because the margins are thinner.
So let's say you have a tournament with like a 10 big blind starting stack, which I know they do these things. Realistically speaking, you would think that when you have a tournament that short of a starting structure and is a super turbo, that it would also have somewhat low rake. And a lot of them just don't. They just have really high, or relatively speaking, they have fairly high rake. To me, doing things like that, doing things like anything that encourages players to play in a way that is incredibly rake, just incredibly rake generating and removes like the vast majority of possible edges in events, to me that's somewhat predatory. That's just how I think about it and how I view it. To me, let's like a lot of poker sites when they run like 1 cent, 2 cent, 2 cent, 5 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent. Those games have by far the highest rake. To me, that's somewhat predatory. Like those games to me should have similar or lower rake than the mid to high stake stuff because you want this player pool to survive. And the
Mm-hmm.
more this player pool survives, the more likely they are to actually circulate funds through mid stakes and higher stakes. That's like, to me,
Yeah.
a lot of poker sites view, again, this is me talking from a player perspective, although I've had a lot of conversations about, with us, with operators, is that if you're going through players' win rates too quickly in whatever ways possible, then the issue is that you're not going to have liquidity. And if you don't have liquidity, then you need to bring in new blood, which GG Poker does an incredible job of that, and have those players add money to the player pool. Or if you don't have that happen, then you see player pools die out. Best example of this is I'm sure you've played in a lot of super high stakes underground games. The high stakes games that are underground that have a lot of chopped pots that are high rake go broke the fastest because it just kills the fish super fast. You know,
Right. Of course.
so to
Yeah.
me, it's about finding that balance between offering games and offering game types that are less profitable for professionals, but also aren't overly aggressive in terms of how they generate rake.
Well, there's other. Yeah, I mean, this is a big part of the discussion on here. I mean, of course, like it's good that you're talking to operators because almost no one is taking that kind of initiative. I mean, I agree totally. I understand. I want to throw in that I understand GG Poker's rate is actually kind of reasonable for micros, but I could be wrong about that. I'm
Yeah,
not
they
one hundred
might be.
percent
I don't
sure.
know. I just know of some of the things that they do seem not that wonderful to me.
Sure. Well, that's seems reasonable way
Yeah.
of looking at things, but they do lots of innovative things. I'm not gonna
Yeah, I
like
agree
pass
with
some
that.
hard
They do a lot
judgment
of
here.
really cool things. The Game of Gold was wonderful. I loved it.
Yeah, that was excellent. So, well, why don't you tell me this? Who do you think is making the biggest innovations, live or online, for poker that is best for the game? And are there any particular operators, within that scope? They can even be private clubs, by the way. Like sometimes private clubs do really positive things, and it could
Um,
be even models from private clubs that should be taken on and applied to larger ones.
I mean, I do think GG Poker does a lot of really good things. They're really great at innovation. In terms of innovation, they're by far the best in the industry. It's not even close. Like there really isn't a second
Hmm.
place. In terms of like online operators, in terms of not only just operators that I've spoken to, but people that I know either work for them directly or are pros with them or whatever. I think WPT Global does a wonderful job in terms of providing good games and doing so in a non-predatory way with very good security. I think Global Poker also does a really good job on a lot of different things. I think in terms of like live examples, I think Triton Poker is ridiculous in terms of the amount of innovations and the stuff they bring to the industry, not only in terms of the events that they run, but largely just in terms of the quality of content that they provide and how much there is of it and how good their apps are and everything is around it. I think the World Series each year does a wonderful job across the board. Obviously, they always run into certain issues occasionally, but for the most part, Jack cares so much about the gaming industry and really does a really great job to innovate. He really does. And while obviously, I thought payout structures need to be a little bit fixed in terms of registration, honestly, the overall payout structures I loved. I think a 2x min cash on 15% is great. I thought the overall payout structures were great. I thought the main event had a really good payout structure. I have like very few issues with WSOP across the board. Like each year they improve and each year they impress me. Win Poker does wonderful jobs. Poker Go, they do a lot of great jobs too. There's a lot of it. Another great example of this actually is Doug Polk at Rounders and the Lodge. Like you can tell that he cares passionately about providing a good product. Him, Andrew Neem, Brad Owen, they all do wonderful jobs and they care a lot about providing a good product. They recently had like a 400K overlay that they paid out of pocket. How many scumbags in this industry have tried to pull out of these big overlays and done all these different things? The Win just paid out a massive overlay.
I didn't know they did that. Yeah,
the Win just paid out a
them.
massive overlay. In the Win 10K last year, the Win. They paid out a massive overlay. It was one of the largest overlays in poker history. They didn't need to overlay. They could have had one re-entry per flight.
Rich, to be fair, but yeah, that's still a big deal.
Yeah, but it's more about they're trying to push the edge in a lot of different ways. Like the WPT December series at the Win, they're trying their best to innovate. They're offering really big guarantees. They're doing really cool stuff. Even GG Poker, with their series at the Bahamas. My only issue with it is that it's in December. Why not do it in January so I can also play it? Having it in January it clashes with the December stuff here. Makes it super hard to justify going out there and playing anything. So I do think there are a lot of operators in this industry that are doing a really good job and are trying to make the industry a better place. That being said, there are plenty of operators that aren't, and I think it's important that players don't give their business to those other operators.
So which operators would you like to throw under the bus?
How about I'm just going to list the
bus.
places that I like playing at for online. I like playing at, so World Series of Poker.com. They have their software issues. They're struggling on their new stuff. They're working through glitches, so on and so forth. So they need work. But the CEO of the company, she cares a lot about the gaming industry. She knows what the issues are. They have a lot more money now. They're working on it. It will improve. I have faith that will improve a lot. I've had a lot of discussions with the CEO of Global Poker. I've had discussions with their head of security. I think they do an absolute wonderful job on both standpoints. WPT Global, they're doing a wonderful job too. The CEO of WPT Global, he posts regularly his blog. He posts about the industry. He posts about what they're doing to keep game liquidity alive, doing things in terms of protecting recreational players and keeping the game, keeping professional poker dreams alive. Party Poker does a really good job. PokerStars used to. They used to be great. GG Poker even does a really good job on a lot of different things across the board. Let's see here. Who else? 888 Poker. They're pretty good. iPoker, Winamax. Let's see here. Who else?
Are there
any of the USA legal sites are all really good.
Are there?
So there are a couple I left out.
Are there any lesser known ones? Because a lot of these ones you're mentioning are like the major ones. That I personally am aware of most of these. You never know.
Global Poker is probably the one that people know the least about, and WPT Global. Yeah, I would say both of those.
Oh, I think that one's kind of obvious, like Global WPT Online or whatever it is. Global Online.
Just Global Poker. Global Poker. They're a USA largely facing site. They use something called sweeps coins. Essentially, you buy gold coins and they give you sweeps coins, and then you can convert the sweeps coins to dollars. It's how they get around a lot of U.S. legal laws. The way in which they operate is legal. They do their best to make sure that they can provide a legal product to U.S. customers. This is the process in which they go around doing it. And almost every tournament on there is a freeze out. All of them have very short registration periods. So their 218 Sunday Major that I played last night, 30K guarantee. Registration's only open an hour. That's it, and it's a freeze out.
Cool.
Their software, not the best, but their security is good. Cash outs are quick. I would say in terms of what most viewers have access to who are watching this right now, assuming they're most in the U.S., Global Poker is going to be one of your best options. Unless you have access to the legal, the fully legal regulated sites, then I would offer those instead.
like and move to like
Yeah,
wherever.
Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Nevada. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's not a bad idea for a lot of pros. Looking at like the possibilities of Italy or some shit like that. I mean, it looks like there's other options as well. I personally did a bit of research on it. Maybe some options in like Asia. I thought Taiwan
Yep.
was pretty good personally.
Yeah, so
playing there.